How come the anger in Israel doesn't cause more pressure on Netanyahu? It has so far. That's why he had to do 2 ceasefire negotiations. But that's only a small part of the pressure. It's not enough. The pressure is clearly not enough. None of these countries actually care about popular mobilization until that popular mobilization turns into a literal rebellion. America included. Is a part of the failure of this tactic, though, that the rest of the world has been watching and Israel is cementing itself as a pariah state regardless of what's being said in Israel proper?
Actually.
Turning to the Middle East, the ceasefire in Gaza is at risk. Hamas released 6 more Israeli hostages.
Wow, that's crazy. It's a risk, huh? I wonder who's spoiling it. I wonder who's spoiling the second stage of the negotiations.
Weekend, but Israel then refused to release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, accusing Hamas of using those hostages for propaganda. In the meantime, Israel's army has stepped up its military operations in the West Bank. Deborah Patta has more on that.
I wish Israel, when releasing their hostages, would use their conditions as propaganda. Not because they currently do, but their propaganda is one of domination. They show the Palestinian hostages that they release as, like, you know, in horrible conditions, losing arms, legs, clearly tortured. That's the propaganda. It's a propaganda of domination. Okay? When they say Palestinians, Hamas, and Islamic Jihad, when they release Israeli hostages, they're doing propaganda. It's like, yeah, dude, no shit. Except their propaganda is, look, in spite of everything you've done, look at the conditions that we're releasing your hostages. Look at the dignity that we've offered to your hostages and the conditions that we release them, as opposed to how you release our hostages. Okay? Israel constantly complains about propaganda when their immediate solution to that would quite literally be to not do Israel shit. Don't rape the Palestinian prisoners to death. That's a good starting position, I think. You know? Can't believe I'm saying this. The Israeli prison service just as Palestinian prisoners in clothes bearing the Star of David symbol in the phrase, "We do not forget and we do not forgive." Yeah. They see the Israeli hostages being released with like keffiyehs and they go, "Okay, it's time. It's time to really show you what's what." Like, do the same thing. Do the same thing. Release them in good condition. Why can't you do that? Is that too hard? On the other hand, those motherfuckers are getting bombed every day. They don't have food. They're getting bombed every day. And in spite of all of that, they still try to show, like, hey, what you're saying is incorrect. We're undermining the propaganda that you've said about the Hamas movement or the Palestinian movement as a whole. The problem, though, and we talked about this quite a bit, the problem here is, yeah, here it is. Prisoner Mohammed Abu Tawila released from Israeli jails. Israel's angry with the hostage ceremonies in Gaza. Meanwhile, they're doing this to the Palestinians. And the thing is, the existence of Palestinians is already offensive. The fact that Palestinians exist and also fight back against Israel is unimaginably offensive. It is humiliating if your entire nation-state project revolves around saying these are subhuman that must be forcibly excised from these lands that we must take, that is our land, then yeah, virtually every reminder that they exist or even dare to fight back is going to be infinitely humiliating. This is precisely the reason why you're being a bit friendly towards Hamas. Let's not forget they're a terrorist organization. Yeah, okay, dude. Sure. Jesus Christ. Like, how are you openly recognizing that this is a thought-terminating cycle here? Like, you're engaging in it. You're literally openly stating it. You know that, right? The real truth teller. You're being a bit friendly towards Hamas. Why? Because I'm saying that, like, they have, not because of morality. I'm not making the argument that, like, Hamas is trying to keep the hostages to the best of their ability in the best conditions possible, even though those conditions are still horrifying because they're in Gaza. Okay? And it's not because out of the kindness of their hearts. It's because that's their leverage. It's their bargaining chip. When I say that, which is a correct fact, it's just the objective analysis, you think that is being too friendly to Hamas. This is so fucking stupid. It's ridiculous. You literally, when you say that, you're like, no, I want you to say that they're barbaric rapist monsters, please. It's crazy. And you're also saying that while you're watching an out and about terrorist organization by the name of the Israeli state and its immediate consequences on Palestinians and how they have mistreated Palestinians. Like that is on the backdrop here, and you're like, well, you're being quite friendly to terrorists. Who's the real terrorist here? It's insane. Oh, that's what's so frustrating about this, is that people don't want to recognize that, you know, previous things that they've been socially conditioned into believing might not be true. So instead of like re-examining their relationship, they just double down and go, no, the other side that's telling me must be wrong. There must be some cynical reason. What is that cynical reason? He's secretly anti-Semitic. That's what this must be. Okay? You can't imagine a world. No, I'm saying it's damaging to be as friendly to Hamas as you are being. It can be misinterpreted. I don't give a fuck, dude. Oh, man, it can be misinterpreted. It already is. People purposely weaponize any kind of sentiment that you have that's pro-Palestinian as being friendly to organizations. Like any kind of anti-Israeli sentiment as anti-Semitism. I don't give a shit. I know. The irony, of course, is that these people get away with lying. These people get away with saying whatever the they want about Israel because Israel is America's ally. And there's plenty of mainstream outlets that will openly do this propaganda. Yeah, 7 cops to be charged for allegedly branding the Palestinian with Star of David. I'm good on that, man. If you don't want Hamas to exist, if you have an issue with Hamas, okay, in its tactics or in its form of governance, its domestic affairs, and if you want Hamas to perish, the easiest solution there is to stop Israel from occupying Palestinians and dominating their lives, is to end and abolish the apartheid. Okay, that's it. That's it. And it's so shocking that people just refuse to reckon with that. And it's gross when it's also gross. People who are ashamed because they understand that they're progressive enough or are in like progressive circles or have a somewhat progressive audience, they're so ashamed of openly defending Israel that they have to turn around and be like, no, I'm actually pro-Palestinian, but you know what? I'm the only correct pro-Palestinian. Everyone else is actually wrong in their defense of Palestinians. They're doing it wrong. Listen to me, a guy who spends all of his time shitting on everyone that is an advocate for the Palestinian cause. Okay? Come on. Come on, dude. Are you that fucking stupid? Get out of here. I'm sorry, but if you're that easily duped, then yeah, you're gonna find yourself believing anything, okay? They either do that or pick the no sides are right approach. I know. It's like you're looking at a side, big dog. What do you mean no sides are right? Nah, we don't know anyone like that. Oh, I know someone like that. I know someone like that. And you all know someone like that too. There's a lot of people like that though.
Part of the story.
Good morning. Israeli tanks have moved into the occupied West Bank for the first time in over 2 decades.
What is
the military
this?
operation comes amidst fears that the fragile Gaza ceasefire, set to expire by the end of the week, will not be extended. The last living...
I love you, bro, but you complain like a diva? What do you mean? What is the complaint? Like, are you having a hard time understanding? Do you think the complaint is valid or not? XX Destiny 2. No, this is not a sex Destiny simp. It's worse. It's a person who loves playing Destiny 2. I love you, bro, but I hate when you complain that people try to present themselves as pro-Palestinian and simply engage in the most ridiculous Hasbara pro-Israel expressions you've ever heard of. Yeah, all right. I guess I'm a diva then.
Israeli hostages to be freed as part of the 6-week truce were reunited with loved ones.
I should stop being a diva. And by that, I mean threaten to dox people that work at Reddit, threaten to dox random anonymous Reddit users, okay, with frivolous defamation lawsuits with the express purpose of trying to get their private information so I can get my psychopathic audience to go around and smear random people as anti-Semites. Because, you know, if you criticize me correctly because you assessed the things that I'm saying and it comes across like I'm attacking all of the pro-Palestinian groups, maybe even calling Jewish Voice for Peace capos, for example, okay, which is, you know, pretty good indication that you might not necessarily be on the side of the Palestinians here. And when people call you a Zionist, you turn around and you're like, well, that's defamation, that's anti-Semitism. Okay, well, good luck. That's the non-diva position.
Ones over the weekend. But in Gaza, families waited in vain after Israel said it had delayed the release of more than 600 Palestinian prisoners until Hamas stops what it calls its humiliating hostage handovers. Hamas now says it will not engage in any further negotiations until the prisoners are handed over. Families of captives still in Gaza are insisting talks must continue. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was heckled during a military graduation on Sunday, accused of abandoning Cherie Bibas and her 2 boys after their bodies were finally brought home for burial. U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, arrives in the region later this week in a bid to ensure the ceasefire holds for a second phase. Vlad?
Deborah Patta in East Jerusalem, thank you very much.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, not only are they intentionally sabotaging, Israel is not only intentionally sabotaging this ceasefire deal as predicted, as was always going to happen, of course, but they're also, Hasan, did you know that you're in desperate need of therapy and intervention from your friends, Cutie, Ludwig, Austin, and Will? Someone on the internet told me that. Yeah, definitely. I'm the one who needs therapy. Yeah, while they're doing that, they're also moving aggressively of completely Gazifying the West Bank.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is warning the army is on standby to restart its war on Gaza. It comes a day after Israel suspended the latest release of Palestinian prisoners as part of January's ceasefire deal.
We are prepared to resume intense fighting at any moment. Our operational plans are ready. Let me state our core policies. In Gaza, we have eliminated most of Hamas's organised forces, but let there be no doubt we will complete the war's objectives entirely, including this one. This can be achieved either through negotiation or by other means.
Let's bring in Bassem Naim, a member of Hamas's political bureau. Many thanks for being with us. What is Hamas's response to Israel withholding the release of 620 Palestinian prisoners?
Thank you very much. And let me start with the condemnation of all words towards the Israeli offensive in the northern part of the West Bank, and unfortunately the silence of the international community towards what's happening there, the continuous killing and destruction against our refugees in the different refugee camps in the north. I think we have signed an agreement on January 19th, and this agreement, this deal, signed from both parties, and with the guarantees of the mediators, the Qataris, the Egyptians, and the Americans, we have fulfilled all our obligations according to the...
Am I crazy? But why was there such a mess on the ceasefire when he's saying on TV they're going to attack right away? Does he think no one watches the TV? No, because it doesn't matter. It's cognitive dissonance. Israel has literally done this for the past 16 months. Why the fuck would they not do it further? They did it with the Biden administration, and the Trump administration is even more aggressive in their outward commentary on this. The Biden administration routinely allowed Israel to dog walk them over and over again. Why? If you teach Israel that you're never going to actually hold them to account and that they can violate whatever bullshit red lines you're presenting in front of them, why would they not do this? You know? Yeah, this journalist is a terrorist sympathizer. Why would she have on and interview a member of a terrorist organization? Who? Exactly. Yeah. What you're supposed to do is sit around, close your eyes, and assume that every Palestinian person is an illogical monster barbarian. Okay? They're barbaric rapist monsters. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to ever hear what they have to say. You're not supposed to actually go, I wonder who's really violating these deals over and over again consistently. Okay?
The deal, we were committed strictly to the deal. Unfortunately, all the time, Netanyahu and his government were trying to undermine the deal, to sabotage the deal. They have committed a lot of violations, killed more than 100 Palestinians, prevented most of the basic needs of the Palestinians to enter the Gaza Strip. And lastly, he has refused to release more.
How come the anger in Israel doesn't cause more pressure on Netanyahu? It has so far. That's why he had to do 2 ceasefire negotiations. But that's only a small part of the pressure. It's not enough. The pressure is clearly not enough. None of these countries actually care about popular mobilization until that popular mobilization turns into a literal rebellion. America included. Is a part of the failure of this tactic, though, that the rest of the world has been watching and Israel is cementing itself as a pariah state, regardless of what's being said in Israel proper? I mean, I think most people just want to stop thinking about that. You know what I mean? Most people want to just stop paying attention to this stuff. How do you not get unbelievably angry at people running defense for Israel publicly? I can't stand it. So many people do it. And, you know, if I want to operate in civil society without losing my fucking mind, I have to just kind of eat it a little bit. That's it. In an effort to be as normal as possible, in an effort to be able to get people to charitably hear out my position and get people to recognize the humanity of Palestinians, I just have to, you know, sometimes hold myself back.
More than 600 Palestinians prisoners, according to the deal, because we have released the 6 living Israelis plus.
But what is
4
Hamas's response
bodies.
to these violations?
We have said it, and we have conveyed a clear and strong message to the mediators. We cannot continue talking or discussing any further steps if these 620 Palestinians are not released.
So when you say you're not going to continue discussing further steps, so if we look at the immediate future, Hamas was due to release 4 bodies of Israeli captives this week. Is that going to go ahead?
All options are on the table because before going to the next step, we have to be sure that the past step, which is releasing 620 prisoners, are already released. Because Netanyahu is clearly sending strong messages that he is intentionally sabotaging the deal. He is preparing the atmosphere for returning back to the war. Therefore, what are the guarantees that he might take the other 4 bodies and again not release the agreed upon number of Palestinians plus the 620 Palestinians? Therefore, all options on the table, not only the what should happen on Thursday, but even the other elements of the deal.
Yeah, phase 2. I want to get to that in just a second. First of all, I just want to put to you that Israel says it will release the 620 Palestinian prisoners if Hamas changes the way it hands over Israeli captives. Israel is calling these ceremonies with the stage and the captives being brought up onto the stage and holding certificates humiliating. Is Hamas willing to do that, to make those changes?
First of all, he can describe it as he will, but if he considers this as a humiliation, I think ICRC and a lot of human rights bodies have documented and bring a lot of proofs that our prisoners 3-4 days before being released are taken to isolation cells and tortured 24 hours, starved. Their families were threatened not to show any sign of joy that they have received, that they are receiving their children after 20, 30, 40 years. I think we are ready to discuss any option, any proposal if it comes to the shape. But we want also to be sure that our prisoners are dealing with them. Second, I think we don't see this as a humiliation. We have seen spontaneous acts from the prisoners, from the Israeli prisoners, who for Netanyahu were outrageous, like kissing the head of one of the fighters. No one asked him to do it, but he did it spontaneously. I think this was not a humiliation. This is he decided to do it alone.
The other female combatants that were released as well threw up the peace sign and shit like that. Okay, like it's just like when the last time the dude dabbed up the Hamas people before getting into the car, and Israel gets very mad at stuff like that. Okay, and what's hilarious about it is that even if it is done under duress, it is still infinitely, like, it is still supposed to be a show to say, like, hey, look at the treatment of the Palestinians. Israel does the exact opposite. They dump the Palestinians. They dump their bodies after raping them to death, okay, in an unsanctioned pile. Like, I cannot believe that they were so mad about the ceremony. Like, they were like, how dare you? How dare you? How dare you put the family members in coffins? Okay? It is virtually, it doesn't matter what they're doing. What matters is the reality that it happened, okay? What matters is not the ways in which Hamas is releasing the hostages, because throughout this entire process, throughout this past month, throughout the first stage of the ceasefire, Hamas would release hostages in a crowd. Israel would get mad. They would say, you're mistreating our hostages. How dare you release them in this commotion? Then they would do an orderly procedure and do this stage theater thing that they were doing, okay? Where they would release the hostages on stage. Then they would get mad at that. They're like, oh, you're using our hostages as a talking point. You're trying to show the world that your treatment, in spite of the fact that you took them as literal fucking hostages, okay, which is already a cruel act in and of itself. But when you do that, how dare you try to make it seem like you didn't mistreat our hostages? That's propaganda. Fuck you. Then they would go back to the commotion. Then they'd say, oh, look, it's a commotion. Look at these animals. The point is, there is no right way of releasing these hostages in the eyes of the Israeli state, because they're mad that the hostages were taken to begin with, which is an understandable position, okay? But they're extra mad because how dare they? How dare these people that are supposed to be captive, the Palestinian population, actually lay a hand on us, actually strike back at us? That is what the true anger and resentment is. That's why there's no correct way of releasing hostages, okay? Yeah, I saw this earlier as well. Exactly. A truly sick, depraved culture, says Libs of TikTok, for this, okay? A performative funeral procession for dead Israelis is sick and depraved, but Israel dumping the bodies of 80 unidentified Palestinians, likely from their torture chambers, out of a truck into Gaza and leaving is solemn and dignified. It's ridiculous. It's just fucking ridiculous. There's no correct way to do this. That's it. There is no correct way for Palestinians to resist. Peaceful resistance means you get killed, okay? Violent resistance means you get killed extra hard. Please explain how it was a genocide when 80% of the buildings were destroyed, but less than 5% are dead on the Arab side in Gaza. Plus, I don't recall Hamas sent a warning to Israel prior to the attack like Israel did in retaliation, while their leadership built bunkers for themselves, but not their civilians. Isn't there anything here that sounds wrong with you, or is it the same Western powers are bad bullshit while you live in one? Yeah, dude, I'm simply saying America bad without giving you exact evidence. I mean, I think if you scratch the surface of this commentary right here, you would probably understand why this is completely unacceptable. You literally actively said 80% of buildings were destroyed in Gaza, but not enough Palestinians were killed in the process. How could you say this is a genocide? What a ridiculous fucking statement to make. Reverse the roles. Do you think October 7 would have been appropriate if Hamas had superior firepower? That's the crazy thing. Like, Hamas actually wanted to do a genocide on all Jews, right? Palestinians just have this like antiquated anti-Semitic gene in them, right? And they wanted to, October 7 was a genocide. What Israel has done since then is not. Okay, so if Hamas had superior air power and completely controlled the airspace, had access to the literal Israeli, the actual Israeli population, knew exactly who lived where, okay, and controlled the entirety of the Israeli population in an open-air prison where they controlled all matter of trade, and then they dropped flyers on top of Israel, and then they fucking bombed Israel into oblivion. you would not have this attitude. You'd be like, it's a genocide. And I would say that too, by the way. If roles were reversed, yes, I would say that is a genocide. The fact that Israel is stronger is not valid. It's not a genocide. What do you mean? Of course. What? This is such pure cope. Okay? It's pure cope. How you doing back there? Okay. Yeah, if it's successful, is not the argument you want to make. You know what I mean? Chatter said, Arab side, you're debating an IDF soldier. Stop taking the bait, dumbass. I mean, I'll fucking debate these motherfuckers all day, every day. This is ridiculous. Role reversal in this situation would objectively lead you to understand that this is a genocide, okay? If any Muslim population had 6 million to 8 million Jews trapped in an open-air prison and they consistently fucking bombed it over and over again and killed a couple 100,000 here and there, and 80% of the fucking standing structures were reduced to rubble, you would literally be like, that's fucking genocide. That is the most genocide that has ever happened. What are you talking about? And I would be right there with you in openly acknowledging that that is, as a matter of fact, genocide. Okay? If you bully me and I hurt you, I will stand for a trial. What? If you bully me, 75 years of endless occupation isn't simply bullying, for the record. Okay? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Is Israel an apartheid state or not? We can start there. If your answer is no, then you are already delusional and refusing to reckon with the reality. You forgot the partition plans? No, you don't understand. It's not a genocide. It's a Bantustan and an apartheid. Yeah, you just don't get it, dude. We just want to do Bantustans. You know, like another country did. That was sick. That was cool when they did it, right? It's just an apartheid. Anyway, who rejected it? Israel has consistently either brought forth ridiculous proposals, they continue their domination, okay, or outwardly denied any kind of reasonable proposition. Wait, hold on. Any kind of reasonable proposition offered by the Palestinian side.
Lastly, I think it is not about the shape, because we have a lot of violations. Again, more than 100 Palestinians killed. If he is talking about humiliation, he is already killing Palestinians.
I understand the use of the word humiliating is provoking, but I also want to get to the bottom of if this is the only thing that is preventing the release of 620 Palestinian prisoners. Is it a concession that Hamas is willing to make?
Yes, we are ready to discuss all these issues, but we want to be sure that he is taking the decision to release our prisoners.
So what efforts are being made then to have these discussions, to have these movements forward in this sticking point?
Again, if you can repeat it again, please.
What efforts are currently being made? What dialogue is happening to free up this stick?
30 seconds into this video is a perfect explanation.
So for those who missed it, today Hamas released 6 Israeli prisoners. And in exchange for these 6 prisoners, Israel was supposed to release some 600 Palestinian prisoners. Now, in today's release, one of the Israeli prisoners, in fact, was kissing the foreheads of his captors, or those who were moments prior to that his captors, shortly before being released into the custody of the Red Cross and then back to be with their families. At the 11th hour, though, Israel decided that it was not going to release the 600 Palestinians until Hamas guarantees that in all future exchanges that there will be no pomp and circumstance and ceremony. So now I want to unpack a little bit about why that is. Now, it's really important to keep in mind, and I cannot emphasize this enough, Israel is a Jewish supremacist state. And as a Jewish supremacist state, Israel necessarily needs to see Palestinians in a complete and utter state of submission all the time. And that's why it was really important for the Israelis upon the first state.
100%. That's literally it. That's it. I mean, yeah, anyone who understands the dynamic, anyone who's even a little bit well read about this, that also simultaneously like sees, anyone who is even a little bit well read about this or sees the Palestinians as human beings recognizes that reality. Everyone else that looks for alternative reasons is basically obfuscating the truth and trying to do propaganda for the fucking apartheid state. That's it. You can do that in many different ways. Some people out. Many people actively will say, no, Israel's fucking awesome. All Palestinians, all Arabs are animals and they deserve to be killed. Okay? The fuck do you mean? The coward's way in this circumstance is to claim that you are pro-Palestinian. It's just that the Palestinians, their resistance is wrong and bad. You're pro-Palestinian emancipation, but place, what is happening? You're pro-Palestinian emancipation. It's just that, you know, you spend all of your time shitting on people who are advocating for Palestinian emancipation. Or some people do this both sides shit. Both sides is awful shithead people causing this whole thing. Brother, if you're both sidesing the most powerful state in the fucking region, backed by the most powerful state on the planet, destroying all standing structures in an open air prison that they are the belligerent occupier of, they're in direct contravention of international law, then you're basically saying you're pro-Israel. This is the problem. Don't try to fucking both sides this shit. There is no both sides here. That's ridiculous. That is my real red line, okay? It's a cop-out. Just fucking say it with your chest. Just be like, nah, Israel's awesome. It's a Western-aligned nation, and I like it. I think that's more honest. The issue here is people try to assume like a centrist role here. You try to assume a centrist role here. Like, what about Hamas's leadership's billions? Dude, they're dead. What are you talking about? Israel assassinated the head of the Hamas Politburo, not a fucking militant, okay? The principal negotiator in fucking Tehran, in a separate country, okay? In a foreign adversary's capital. Think about it this way. Hassan Nasrallah's funeral proceedings took place yesterday, okay? It was widely attended. Israel violated Lebanese airspace by flying over it. It's like a fucking serial killer coming back to the scene of the crime and being like, yep, I did it at the funeral proceeding, and being like, yeah, I did it with a gun, with the murder weapon, and being like, yeah, what are you going to do about it, bitch? It's ridiculous. Everybody knows what's up. Everybody understands what's going on. They tweeted the photo of their low-flying fucking planes violating the Lebanese airspace. People talk about like, oh, what about the leadership of Hamas making billions? Like, yeah, dude, how did Yahya Sinwar die? Israel for literally 60 months lied and said, oh, he's chained to like 8 Israeli prisoners at all times, as though Israel fucking stops itself from bombing places when there's Israelis in him. Israel has killed a shit ton of hostages themselves personally, sometimes with direct conventional weapons, like sometimes literally shooting them in the fucking back as they're waving a goddamn white flag saying, we're Israeli, we're Israeli. Okay? They lied and said, oh, he's in the tunnels. They lied and said, oh, he's escaped. He just wants all the Palestinians to die. How did Yahya Sinwar die? He died fighting. That was a fucking lie. He went down fighting. You can cry about it all day. You can be like, he's a butcher. I think he's also telling us Sinwar was randomly killed during a skirmish and not targeted by the Israeli occupying force. They didn't even know he was there when they had killed him. Yeah, exactly. Virtually everything that Israel says about its campaigns are, I don't get it, man. You will be reasonable most of the time, but the moment this topic comes up, you become crazy. Can we recognize that both sides have done bad things at least, and this entire situation is bad for both sides? Yes. Okay, and I have. The atrocities that took place on October 7 still entirely are in the hands of Israel. And I don't mean like they directly killed every Israeli person. Okay, I'm not saying like it's a Hannibal directive. Stop trying to both sides of the situation. Israel holds all the fucking cards. That's just the reality of the situation. And people seemingly don't want to fucking recognize it. It's very frustrating. Okay, I don't get it, man. You're reasonable most of the time. Can you also admit that the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising really escalated the Nazi Nazi maintenance of the concentration camps? You know, what were Jewish people supposed to do in that situation? Not fucking resist? Not rise up? You know? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you please recognize that the Nat Turner Rebellion actually really stopped the abolitionist movement dead in its tracks? Can you openly admit that the ANC's militancy, including car bombs they use from time to time, greatly extended the apartheid? There are no both sides only when it's said and done. Okay? In the moment, liberals still do routinely resist. The standard of violence is always set by the oppressor, but they were not being killed in Gaza before October 7. What? Palestinians were not being killed in Gaza before October 7? First of all, on October 6, Euromed Monitor released a report saying that 2023 was the deadliest year for Palestinian children so far. Okay? And that wasn't just Gaza, that was the West Bank. Okay? The fuck do you mean there was no violence in Gaza? There was no one being killed in Gaza before October 7. What are you talking about? Someone just show this fucking dingus the chart, please. The numerous mowing of the lawn operations that Israel has conducted in Gaza. Man, I don't follow this stuff. How am I supposed to know? Well, if you don't follow this stuff and if you don't know anything, why do you come in here and act like you know some shit? There are plenty of people that don't know anything. They at least have the decency to not try to fucking contest objectionable things like unconscionable violence whenever I describe it. Look at this. Where's the one that just shows not this one, the one that shows like Israeli casualties and Palestinian casualties side by side. 75 years of military occupation. The Israeli state was built, okay? The Israeli state was literally built with mass ethnic displacement. The Nakba. I have no hope for the average American. They're all going to get us killed. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Look at that. Please read or listen to 100 Years of War in Palestine. I don't think you're talking to me, right? Because this is a book that I've also recommended and read. This is a chart from 2021, by the way. And it's just from 2008 to 2020. To watch this, Gaza Fights for Freedom, I have. I've already watched this on stream. The thing is, you don't even need to know. You don't even need to know what happened prior to October 7 to understand how this dynamic works. Because you can look at everything October 7 onward and recognize exactly how this shit works. That's the problem. So for the past 60 months, you must have fucking had your head in the sand or something. That's what's so crazy about this. Don't look at the last post of the chatter. Why? What did he say? I just came in here to watch Gooner video reactions and then saw something I believe was false and chose to contest it. Okay, well, now you know the truth. I hope you change your perspective. It's crazy. I mean, that chatter basically is more open-minded than the overwhelming majority of chatters that come in here with idiotic fucking takes. I've been meaning to watch this BBC documentary that was pulled from the airwaves after one day, but I just don't know entitlement so calmly. Because he didn't immediately call me like a pro-rape, anti-Semitic terrorist. Because most people that come in here with contentious attitudes like that, without any knowledge whatsoever of the situation, will just immediately hit that line. There's a lot of gore amputations are shown, and one of the children works directly with an ambulance crew. I have seen it. I haven't seen it, but read a lot about it. Yeah, that's the reason why I don't want to watch it, because I'm worried. The only issue with the documentary that they pulled is that the translations from Arabic are not accurate and are misleading, intending to show people of Gaza with more resentment towards Hamas than they actually had at the moment. Holy shit. TOS 11. Oh my God, that's a lot of sinister in Gaza, i.e. Hamas terrorists. So the BBC pulled this doc. Oh, nice. Good. To understand something, by the way, even before October 7, more than 50% of the Gazan population was under the age of 18. Okay? Or 50%, at least 50% of the Gazan population is under the age of 18. Okay, so when you're wondering, like, why are there so many children, okay, in documentaries, or why are they taking an active role? It's because a ginormous percentage of the people that Israel is killing are children. Because a ginormous percentage of the Gazan population is children. Okay, just so you understand. When I say they're baby killers, this is what I mean. It is a literal fact. BBC faces questions over Gaza film's Hamas link. Yeah, this is a baby Hamas. This is a child Hamas. Unironically, like the depravity, dude, the fucking depravity of pro-Israeli people is so pro-Israel people is so crazy to me. Showing you this is terrifying for a lot of people who are pro-Israel. And that's precisely the reason why they do everything and anything they can to disparage anyone that shows you the reality on the ground. Okay, that's it. That's the only thing. There is no real conversation here. Are there anti-Semitic people who absolutely claim to care about Palestinians in an effort to launder anti-Semitic sentiment? Absolutely, there are. 100%. Virtually every single person that claims that about me, however, knows full fucking well that I am not an anti-Semitic person. Okay. Speaking of which, you should see, look, this fucking dipshit is still doing it. This guy literally has been doing it all day. Okay. All day. Look at this. So I found out you were mixing up stories. One person possibly killed in Israel in holding by sexual assault. The piles of dumped bodies were bodies insanely seized by Israel from morgues. Check if they held hostages in their morgues. Speaking, oh, sorry. So when they dumped their bodies, they didn't intend to do it. They didn't intend to fucking humiliate the Palestinians. Got it. Speaking of which, you shouldn't have said baby settlers thing. Yeah, the baby settlers thing, which is another thing that was ironically clipped when I was directly having a conversation with the person who then relitigated it a year and a half later. Ironically, my argument there, considering that I'm a one-stater, is that regardless of valid military targets, okay, considering the West Bank valid military targets as my interlocutor did at the time, okay, I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think I wasn't advocating to kill baby settlers, you dumb fuck. It was the opposite. That is precisely the reason why I say that I am an advocate for a one-state solution, because I think it's cruel now that there are 700,000 people that live there. I think it'd be cruel to forcibly rip them. That's so crazy. It's so crazy. Virtually everything that disingenuous fucking assholes. Oh, wait, 80% of buildings destroyed isn't genocide? We called it Uyghur genocide one because they imprison people, re-educate, maybe kill a few. That's genocide. How is this not? This person is literally saying, this person is literally taking the most insane stance here. He recognizes what Israel is doing is genocide, but then still has fallen for a fucking clip chimp. What? You should check out Olasun Vias. Hasan does nothing wrong. The truth isn't important. Just say whatever gets views. Hasan does nothing wrong. Wait, what? Very confusing stuff here. So I'm giving you I'm giving you what my position is, but then you just turn around and say this shit? Like, am I not supposed to correct you and just act like, yeah, no, I did indeed have a position that I don't have? What a strange situation. So you expect us to live next to our rapists? HasanAbi, you can't expect us to live next to the people who kill our families and children because it'd be cruel for them to go back to the country they invaded from? The unfortunate reality is that is precisely how history has worked forever. Okay? Every single person that has done a crime should offer restitution for it. This doesn't mean that those crimes should go unaddressed. Okay? But that's the underlying basis. Creating a Truth and Reconciliation Committee and then addressing all of the wrongdoings. That's it. Anyway. Okay, so don't articular yourself when you're literally saying, well, there are baby settlers in a conversation about targeting children in war. Like, yes, you can walk it back now. That's not my problem. I'm not walking it back now, you fucking idiot. That's not how conversations work. That's not my problem. I knew that was going to trigger you because you never check yourself. Okay, well, have fun with that. That's not how conversations work. You can't just literally be like, in a back and forth conversation, you applied terminology that could be clipped out of context. That's on you. What do you mean? The fuck are you talking about? Don't you care about what my actual position is? Like, what do you mean? You just want to argue? You're like, I know that that's not your position, but it's really fucked up that you allowed yourself to be clipped out of context by the person I was having who knows my actual opinion on the matter. The fuck? Months later, too, a year later. Get the fuck out of here. There's nothing funnier to me than being a guy who's like, honestly, I know that that's not what you meant, but I'm still going to act like you meant it because I'm bad faith. You're just like openly recognizing that you're fucking bad faith. Yeah, says a lot about you that I fucking got duped, I guess. New Israeli Deputy Knesset Speaker calls for killing all Palestinian men in Gaza, wiping out Jenin. Nissim Vaturi, Deputy Speaker of Israel's parliament and a member of Netanyahu's Likud party, told ultra-Orthodox radio station Kol Barama, who was innocent in Gaza? Civilians went out and slaughtered people in cold blood. We need to separate the children and women and kill the adults in Gaza. We are being too considerate. He described the people in Gaza as scum and subhumans, claiming no one in the world wants the civilians in Gaza. Everyone is pushing them into Israel. We will soon turn Jenin into Gaza, he said, adding that the Palestinian captives released under the Gaza ceasefire deal should be sent there so they can be eliminated by Israeli forces. Erase Jenin. Don't start looking for the terrorists. If there's a terrorist in a house, take it out. Jenin is currently under a brutal 35-day Israeli siege with tanks entering the city Monday. Dan Sheehan says, I'll say it again for the 1,000th fucking time. American Zionists will condemn powerless teenagers chanting from the river to the sea on college campuses and then ignore the cartoonishly genocidal statements made day after day by the Israeli government politicians as they're actively also fulfilling those wishes, those genocidal desires. Give me a fucking break. As Mangold spent a lot of time on you today, explains the attack on the idiots. It's fine. Because as Mangold's idiots are not fucking liberal, or they don't try to masquerade their criticism with like liberal seasoning. They just come in here and call me a sand monkey, okay? And I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? That's just more hogs. I like having hogs in here. Half of them also get themselves banned because they come in here and they're so horny that they're like, you should kill yourself immediately. And then they got fucking site-wide banned. Why is this the first time you've ever shown any compassion towards the baby settlers? If I were to show you a compilation, that's all I wanted to see. If I were to show you a compilation since October 7 of the 700 different instances where I've talked about why I believe in a one-state solution, including in that very same conversation that I was having with Ethan, would you actually go back and say, you know what, I'm wrong? I was wrong. I actually was misguided on this. Or do you think you'll move on to a different goalpost? I don't think you would move on. I think you would just move the goalpost to something else. Meanwhile, the IDF has confirmed it has deployed tanks to the West Bank as it expands its ongoing counterterrorism operation in the Jenin area. The terrorism is coming from the IDF, in Jenin especially. Okay? That's all I wanted to see. That's not true at all. What do you mean, what's not true at all? Do you think you have a better accounting of all of the things that I've said in my 8 to 10 hours of fucking commentary every single day for the past 16 months than I do? You think you saw one clip that was suspiciously clipped, and you think that you have a better understanding, like the audacity. Can you imagine? Especially because not only am I a fucking public figure, but I'm also endlessly consistent and very careful. No, it's not true that I would move the goalposts. So why the fuck are you moving? Why are you in here because of a fucking clip chimp? And you also are, you had the audacity to say this is the first time you've shown compassion, you fucking idiot. The question I gave you was a rhetorical one. It's because I have shown compassion to all civilians across the board. But you're in here guided by one fucking clip that you saw that was out of context, and you think that's it. Anyway, that's why it's so shocking to people, I guess, when they're like, why is Hasan not banned yet? It must be some grand conspiracy. Or maybe because obviously Twitch has an accounting of all of the fucking things that I have said. No, it must be that it's a grand conspiracy. Lamont Asman banning everyone who disagrees with them right now on stream. I know. For as much people, for as many people yell at me for fucking banning people that you know, come in here and disagree with me for simple shit. You know, I think out of all of the content creators who consistently do call outs, okay, I have a fairly open door policy which routinely gets abused by dumbasses. Most people in this community want me to actively ban more people from shit stirring.